Now for the next 3 or 4 videos here in a group, I want to talk about something. We're going to go just a little deeper than arrays here. We're going to talk about C++ containers. Now these are some things that you need to be aware of, and you need to go dig a little deeper and play with these things because they can really do some great things to your code. Now, what is a container? Let's answer that question first. Well, a container is an object that we can use to store or organize other objects. Now, where do these things come from? Well, they're part of the C++ Standard Template Library, or STL. Now, understand, this is part of the standard, normal, if you will, C++. If you're working in the CLI version or Microsoft's version of C++, you won't have these things exactly the same way necessarily. You'll have different functionalities and maybe some more or less functionalities, but just understand we're talking about standard C++ here. Now there are 6 containers that are defined in the STL, and then there are kind of like sub-containers under those, and I'm not going to go into the sub-containers here. But what I want to do in this group of videos is, first of all, tell you about these 6 containers and just let you know that they're out there. Then I want to take one of them, we'll do a vector, because it's kind of the one that's most commonly used, and show you some of the really cool things you can do with these. Now they really are arrays with a lot more bells and whistles. Alright, so let's talk about the 6 containers that are defined for you in the STL. Now these objects are out there. You can just reference the standard template library and just use these things. Okay, there is the vector, the deck. Now in Tennessee, in the southeastern United States, that looks very much like DQ. Alright, but the actual nerd correct pronunciation of that is deck. The list, the map, and the set, and then finally the bit set. Now I'll talk about each one of these here, and I'll just kind of share with you the basics of these so that you'll understand why you would use these. Now we'll do that in a separate video, but arrays were cool, and we actually looked at those in a separate section of the course here. And an array is a way to put multiple values out there and associate them with one variable name, and then we just kind of call or manipulate the values by index position. Okay, well, these C++ containers are arrays. They've just been enhanced, if you will, with specific predefined behaviors and properties. The reason being, there are a lot of different instances when we're programming that we need to do specific things with groups of items. Sometimes we just need to stick them into memory and then read them out, top to bottom. Other times we need to put them into memory and then we need to sort them after we get them there. Sometimes we put them in memory and we need to insert something in the middle. And so what each of these containers has done, it's been built specifically to have certain functionalities and to be efficient at those things. So you need to familiarize yourself with these things. Okay, now let's talk about the basic syntax, and I'll use the vector as an example. Now you will see this listed out there just like you see here, the word of the object, vector, and then inside these brackets you'll see a T. Now you may also see a K in there. T means type, and we're talking data type. K means key, and every once in a while we'll put a key in there, and this is for these key paired values or dictionary values, you'll hear them called sometimes. But let's look at this. In this instance, this vector right here means an object of type vector. Think of this just like we did when we built our own classes and used them. This vector is a type that has certain functionalities like a class, and we are going to instantiate an object of a vector that works with whatever data type we tell it. Okay, the T simply tells it what type data type that we're going to put in our vector object. And so a vector with int inside here where the T is tells us that we want to create a vector that's going to store and manage integers, and we're going to call our vector or our instantiation of the vector object days. Alright, and that will create a vector object named days, and it will manage and store our integer values for us. Alright, pretty straightforward. This looks complicated when you see it in examples, or for some reason when you hear nerds talk about this out there in the books or on the videos. I don't know why, it just seems confusing and a bit intimidating, and so I'm going to give you some very simple overviews and then some fairly involved examples. Not involved, but we're going to go over quite a bit with this vector, just to give you an idea of some of the cool things you can do with these things. Okay, so that's kind of the intro into C++ containers.